Called to order at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance or stay seated and put your hand on your heart. The flag that we have is behind me, so I'll start it off with, I pledge allegiance
To the flag
flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation
under
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. I forgot some lines on that for the first time. Okay, we are streaming live, by the way, on YouTube, and this meeting will be rebroadcast on its cable channel beginning tomorrow. Before we start, though, we have to have a moment here. The Township of Van Buren lost two of its more high-profile statesmen that helped Van Buren Township form into the wonderful place that it is today. First one is David Jacobs. David Jacobs was past supervisor. He passed away at his home in hospice care. He had a tragic battle with brain cancer, and he died on April 30th. He was 75 years old. David will be lovingly remembered by his wife and best friend of nearly 51 years, Jeanette. Their two loving daughters, Michelle, Karen, and their husbands who they considered their sons, Frank and Joey. He will be fondly remembered as Papa to his grandchildren, Catherine, Carson, Bryson, and Burnley. David was a past supervisor. He built the administration hall. He did quite a few other things here. Started the fire department, I believe, and he would be sorely missed. He very much had. I know that as a supervisor, I see a lot of names and a lot of paperwork. Probably see his name as much or more than any others. So he did a lot when he was here. We also lost another, and Treasurer Bud, could you speak about that?
Gotta unmute myself, sorry. It is with deep regret and sorrow that we report the death of retired Fire Chief David Cameron McAnally. Chief McAnally passed away late Friday evening at the hospital after battling issues and complications with COVID-19. According to Greg Lorraine, we've lost our public safety family member. Please keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. Chief was hired by Van Buren Township in 1988, and he also served as the building director and the first-time fire chief. McAnally's career as fire chief spanned 3 years until he retired in 91, but he continued working in the township as the director of developmental services until he retired in 1977. During his career as fire chief, he made significant changes and was instrumental in taking the public safety to the next level. As a building director, he oversaw the expansion of the current municipal complex and was dedicated in the fall of 1996 when we opened it up. Cameron was a hard worker, and he was the happiest when he had a lot to do, according to Susan Ireland, the DDA director that worked with him. He was instrumental, and he brought a lot of innovative ideas to the community, and it was easy to see he cared about Van Buren Township. I would like to say that I worked with Cameron. I also worked with Dave, and it was always a pleasure to work with him when he was fire chief and when he worked in the building department. And it gives me great pleasure now to watch his son, David McAnally Jr., follow in his father's footsteps with great leadership and professionalism. We will miss you, Cameron and Dave. We're so proud that you were his son. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have a moment of silence for the gentleman? Thank you. We're going to begin now with the roll call. Clerk Wright.
That's Trustee White,
Present.
Trustee Martin,
Here.
Trustee Frazier,
Here.
Trustee Miller, Trustee Miller,
Here.
Treasurer Bud,
Here.
the clerk is present, supervisor,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Thank you. Obviously, this is a historic Zoom meeting. Every township's trying to get something like this going on, so it's an historic moment. But today is also the first time we've met since the governor issued her stay-at-home orders. We have a short agenda today, which begins with a request to approve the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the day-to-day bills of the township, and these extend back to mid-March. So we needed to meet, and they go right up to May 5th. After that, we have a few announcements we need to make, and then we're going to go into a report on the status of the departments within the township and the plan to reopen the township. We will then discuss the township's website in an effort to request guidance from the board to move forward with developing a new internet portal for the township. We will finish the day with a public comment that is being completely interactive and is accessible through the township website. To join in on this, follow the link on the front page of our website. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. Sorry, this is going to be a little bit choppy.
Yeah, Supervisor, you want to mention that we combining both public comments?
Thank you. I would like to suggest that since it's very difficult, we almost have to poll every single solitary person that's out there whether or not they want to do a public comment. And since we have nothing that we're voting on actually in the new business, as we discussed the other day, we would like to combine both public comments to the end of the meeting, since we're not voting on anything. And so I'm asking for an approval of a revised agenda. Can I get a motion for an approval of a revised agenda?
Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised agenda, and we will accommodate public comment at one time during the agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Frazier. Treasurer Bud?
Support.
Supporter. Okay, I've got a motion for approval and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion passes. We move down to the adoption of the consent agenda. I believe it is, I actually believe it's Trustee Frazier's turn to make that. If you would like to make the adoption of the consent agenda. Trustee Frazier?
Okay. I'd like to make, okay.
Okay.
Do you want me just to read it right now?
You did read it.
Okay. So I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I need you to read it.
Which consists of the board meeting minutes of March 16th, the prepaid list of March 19th, the prepaid list of March 26th, the prepaid list of April 9th, prepaid list of April 16th, the prepaid list of April 23rd, prepaid list of April 30th, the voucher list of April 7th, the voucher list of April 21st, and the voucher list of May 1st.
Did I have a Trustee Miller? Did you support that?
Support.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a motion for approval. I've got a motion for support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. We now move into correspondence, announcements, and presentations. I understand that Mr. Selman gave Trustee Martin a bunch of announcements that he was hoping that you were going to make. Trustee Martin?
Okay. The first one is curbside trash removal. Curbside yard waste commenced the week of April 20th. Bulk pickup will still be suspended. If you need to dispose of any item outside of what goes in your trash toter, it must go to the landfill. If you do not have your 2020 landfill punch card as of yet, please call us at 734-699-8926 to receive one. If you have any issues with trash, recycling, yard waste pickup at the curbside, please call our offices at 734-699-8926. Parks. Parks are scheduled to reopen Memorial Weekend. All pavilion rentals have been canceled for the 2020 season. Full refunds for the pavilion rentals will be issued. Play structures will remain closed until further notice. The Van Buren Park Beach will remain closed until further notice. The splash pad will remain closed until it is safe for people to congregate. And lastly, recreation. All classes and events are canceled through at least July 4th. Fireworks have been canceled for this summer. Summer concert series has been postponed until later this year and will be rescheduled if possible. Summer camp first and second session has also been canceled. Refunds for those who have already registered for camp and programs canceled will be issued. Thank you.
I usually like to spread those out. Somehow Dan handed those to you and I thought, okay, we're just gonna go with it. Does anybody else have any announcements that they would like to make? Treasurer
I
Bud.
do. Just to let everyone know, because we've had calls about dog licenses, which everybody knows expires on May 31st. We are going to waive any penalties or anything else. And when the township reopens, people can continue to come in and get their dog license.
Okay. I have, I guess I'll give you a short update. Van Buren Township had one new case today. Yesterday was kind of an epic day for us. We chart the 48111, and it was the first day that I can remember that there was no cases in Belleville, Sumter, or Van Buren new. We've had 138 cases, and we've had 10 deaths within the township since the beginning of this. Okay, moving on down, we're moving down to new business. We're going to start off with,
Kevin,
sorry. Okay.
I would just like to mention real fast, we had a couple of calls, voicemails left on the machine yesterday asking about elections. I just want to let everyone know you did not miss the election today, as Van Buren Township didn't have a May election. Our next scheduled election will be the August primary, which is August 4th. Thank you.
Oh,
Fraser.
I'd just like to express on my behalf, and I'm sure the board's behalf, to the families that have lost someone to COVID-19, our deepest condolences. It's a tragedy and something we're totally unexpected, but their loss is a loss for us too. Thank you.
Within the Van Buren family, we have had one case, and they are currently on day 8, I think, or 6 of their 14-day quarantine. At this point in time, we haven't had any others.
Who were the 10?
I'm not talking. I can't do that because
Okay.
yeah. At any rate, today we had a 3-hour meeting, and I've been keeping a log basically of departments and what's going on and issues, and the clerk and the treasurer are regularly opening up, and I'll let them discuss their governmental entities. I call them departments, but they're not departments because they're governmental entities. They actually exist on their own. At any rate, I'm going to go through them and give you an update. Almost every director is on that line right now. If there are any questions that you have at the end of this, we can have those questions. So, but I just want to give you an update of what's going on, what we've been doing. Just a short thing. Public safety, basically the front line for the employees. Public safety equipment has been procured. The facilities and equipments are being regularly decontaminated on a daily basis. We have special fogging machines, among other things. Everyone is being tested. Everybody has been tested in police, fire, and dispatch. I think there's one left. Yes, there is one. That one I'll say, that's Amy, because Amy just got back, Amy Brow, fire chief. She's the only one left to be tested. The police have gone to, instead of, they've shortened up a little bit of the field work. We've canceled traffic enforcement. We've cut back here and there. We've been running them 4 days on and 8 days off so they can self-quarantine a little bit better. The budget is balanced in police, obviously, because we're not running overtime. And so overtime is actually pretty strong right now. The police are doing a fine job, really are. Fire is our frontline medical, and we are fully staffed. We have been fully staffed for almost every single shift. We will remain that way until this COVID emergency is completed. There's nothing more. We need frontline medical, and that's what they represent to us. Because of that, that budget is about $125,000 in the year off balance. I don't know that we're going to make it up. I don't know that I'm even going to try to make it up before July. It's, you know, if you force me to, I would, but before July, because we really need those frontline medical people out there. We need to be fully up to speed. We need supervisors on shifts. So that's the plan there. It's unfortunate that it is out of budget, but it's not horribly out of budget. Our dispatch, I think you all know that we are using Northville Township's dispatch. We moved our people out of our dispatch in in Van Buren's because they're in the center of the police station. They're only 3 or 4 feet apart from each other. We had to have 2 people on staff. In Northville Township, they had 2 people on staff for Northville and Northville Township. Here for Belleville and Van Buren, we had 2. We each put only 1 person in a room. They had more than 6 feet clearance between each other. It was a locked, secured room that was quarantinable, safer for the dispatchers. They've got a wonderful facility. It helped them, it helped us. It was a good match. We were the only ones in the county that did combined dispatches, even though it was the state police recommended it to everybody. We're pretty much the only one I know of that did it, but it really worked out well. We only had, I think, 6 or 7, supposed to have 8. We had 6 or 7 dispatchers. If 2 of those dispatchers would have gotten hurt, COVID, I mean, it could have run through there. We would have been in a mess. Same with Northville. So that was why we did it. I have to mention that the courts are only operating for violent offenders right now. And because of that, they are, and because the police aren't writing tickets, not that many, we can look at probably a $50,000 to $100,000 hit to our budget this year from the courts. I don't know what the courts are going to do because the courts system is completely 100% backed by Romulus. And for many, many years, Romulus has enjoyed the surpluses that the courts created, and it went into their general fund. This year, it obviously is not going to be the case, but they did take on that liability, and it was very good for them for many years. I don't think it's going to be that good this year. I believe you'll see the Supreme Court probably coming to the aid of the courts because it's happening across the state that the courts are not able to fund themselves based upon a model during COVID. In the parks, when we do open, we're going to be opening with social guidelines. We're going to be talking about that later on. We're talking about Memorial Day weekend opening. We'll be talking about that later on. Purchasing signage, the closing of the Van Buren Township gatehouse for the parks, since it's just not healthy to have that gatehouse open, number 1. And number 2 is we're not going to be having a pavilion rental, which is where all the money comes from. The parks, the beach is going to be closed. So we're going to lose about $40,000 in revenue at the parks. Recreation, because of our unique method of doing recreation, where we pretty much do a split or we just provide facilities and let somebody else run the programming, like Little League Baseball and soccer and things like that. Recreation looks like it's going to be fine. They don't look like they're going to be taking a hit. I can assume that they're going to take some small hit, like a $5,000 or $10,000 hit, but I can't see them taking any more than that. The Real, which is our summer camp, we are going to have that. I read in the paper, I guess Belleville didn't know about it. They just missed their emails. I called them up the next day after I read it. Called Tracy Schultz Koblars and told her who to contact with. And so Belleville is going to have theirs. I have been talking to Pat Williams almost 3 times a week, probably, because he's got a $120 million budget. He's got a lot of people that are checking a lot of areas that I don't have the time or the people to check into. And he almost missed it. He's getting in. I talked to Bill Wild the other day. He's getting in on it. So summer youth is the summer youth work program is going to be alive and well in our part of Wayne County. Seniors, the senior sector is obviously the at-risk community. we expect a nominal loss in memberships. We're probably gonna have to rethink about the way that we do a lot of things with seniors going forward. They're gonna have to feel comfortable in here. And we'll be talking about that in the future. Senior program, the seniors and the recreation programs are being proposed not to be reopened. They're not conducive to a COVID virus at all. So it's going to be a little while before we reopen those. We have been getting food out, and Trustee Miller took it on herself to make some phone calls and got us a United Way $20,000 grant, which worked out wonderfully well. People get this drink called Ensure, and it's like a little milkshake, but it's got all the vitamins they need to live. When I was on the Senior Aging Council, that stuff's expensive, by the way. You can't get enough of it because they want to pair it with other regular foods. Seniors have bad teeth. They have trouble eating half the time the food. This Ensure stuff is like gold to them, and they were lined up asking for more and more. We actually had so many left over. We bought another 125 cases, and we got some more fruit. We had a stop and drop, and people had their grandkids driving them up here to make sure they got their case of Ensure. So they were very happy. They worked very, very hard at the senior program and the Parks and Rec because they were working with them on this thing. They were working probably as much as they always work. The museum is another senior hangout. So we're going to probably maintain that closed for a little while longer. Katie Dallas is trying to do some stuff with a Virtue Museum on that area. And she's redoing some exhibits, and she's working with her communication staff, and that's what she's been up to. The DDA operations, they need to continue because the DDA is the infrastructure for our business community, and they are solid. They're financially solid. They're based on taxes. People don't pay their taxes. Like Pat Williams is telling me, they're having some real problems in Canton where people are calling up saying, I'm not going to be able to pay my taxes this year. The county backs the roll. Van Buren, it's a curse and it's a blessing, but we are mostly corporate stores, and they are paying their taxes, and we'll figure out some way to help our other people. We did by calling the Wayne County and getting a small business loan program that was tailor-made for Van Buren. Fortunately, only about 3 people got it, but we tried. DPS, I'm going to get back to public services because they're just such a huge part of our lives here. Maintaining everything. Planning and economic development, we are talking right now. We've been going through the process of trying to figure out how to have planning meetings. We're going to have to go to Zoom. How do you operate the permits area? The permits area is a bright spot. It is, we had such a bang up first quarter. We've opened up, but we're still running permits by request. We have called, we're averaging
That's
20.
good.
Yes, it is. We're averaging probably at least 20 phone calls a day that we're having to return, and sometimes there's as many as 60. I think there were today 60, but some of them are permits. We're still doing permits when people need them. Ashley Capital just put down a huge amount of money to complete some permits that we're working on. Because of that, I mean, we could have had a humongous year in permits, but we should be able to beat the budget on the permit area, which is just gigantic. We are having talks. I'm having talks with Dan Power of how to work at what the role of economic development and the directorship is in a down economy. It's kind of a different kind of a game. I've actually, unfortunately, had to play that game before in 2008, 2007. So we'll be reinventing a little bit of the wheel over there, just in case the economy doesn't come back. According to Canton, the state revenue sharing, they're people, they're paid lobbyists. They've got a really expensive lobbyist. Tells them they're taking about an 8 to 10% hit. That would equate to about $282,000 in our money. So I think we should expect a $280,000 hit in our money. The landfill's going back and forth. The landfill started out the year with as much as 20 to 30% increase in revenues. they tell me they're going to tank a little bit for the COVID, and they tell me not to expect those kind of numbers going forward. But the kind of numbers that they've been producing the last 6 months are still better than our budget estimate. Um, I'm going to step out of line a little bit and say what I haven't seen in writing, but I'm going to tell you that we anticipated a $1.8 million budget deficit to complete the, which was really bringing money forward from surpluses to complete the building and everything else last year. And that was built into our budget. We expected to have to use that money. It appears that we actually cut expenses by about $800,000 and picked up an additional $1 million. We look like we actually turned a surplus, small. Treasurer Bud, what was it, 30,000 or? It was some, I mean, when you're talking 16, 17 million, 18 million, it was some nominal amount. It might have been as low as 5,000. There you go, Treasurer Bud.
We should come up with, well, I think it was a little more than that, Kevin, but we didn't have to take out of the fund balance like we thought we were going to. So it's going to come up good. Our state shared revenue was higher than we expected. So there was a lot of items that came up real good last year. And all of our directors were under budget. So, you know, basically we started out this year pretty good. And I think we're going to fare fairly well for this year.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it is
Good
good.
work.
Yeah. Water and sewers, they're running right along. They're taking care of business. They haven't missed a beat. The assessor's office is telling me that they have no issues. They do tell me though that when this kind of things happen, that you can expect a real hit the next year because people will assume, well, basically because they had a bad year, they're going to want a little lower taxes. Van Buren has a unique situation here though. We don't get mentioned taxes. We are an incredibly low millage community. So, I mean, when you talk about taking away your township taxes, you're talking about taking away 1 mil. So it's not these kind of, the tax fluctuation is what kills us. What kills us is things like state revenue sharing and landfill. So we should be okay there. So, but we could have a shortfall in the budget this year. And I'm thinking in worst case, $1.5 million, best case, 300,000, but we could beat that with some of the other revenues. We could, end up okay. We have planned for it. We have put away $7.4 million into that rainy day fund. It is raining. So I'm suggesting that we continue on, and we have initiated a hiring freeze, and that's pretty much all we've done right now. I am done with this report. So now we can take questions. Trustee Miller.
So I was on the Warren Evans weekly COVID call today, and the county has received CARES money, and they hope to get that out to townships and cities and municipalities. But it has to be for COVID related expenses. So that's where going back through our documents and our paperwork will show what we've spent money on just for COVID related expenses. And then they talked about the FEMA money that's coming in. And Kevin, supervisor, you probably know that FEMA has to be reimbursed up to 75%. So usually townships will have to pay the 25%. And right now they're trying to get a bill passed to make that at 100%. So I want to pass that on to you because that was good information today, that they are looking at money coming into our township, into cities, into the suburbs. When, I'm not certain, but they are working on that.
On response to the COVID money for the COVID purchasing of PPE and other supplies and training and everything else, Treasurer Bud has set up a line item for all the departments and then a line item for all the enterprise funds. And every single solitary bit of it that has been purchased has been put into those. And I'm not sure what those numbers are, but I'm guessing 40, 50,000. Treasurer Bud, do you know?
I don't know because I haven't totaled them, but they are being tracked. So we will know what we have spent.
Yes.
Excellent.
That issue.
Okay. Before I get to GPS, I'd ask any more questions. Trustee Frazier.
Okay. Well, I remember in the end of March, I think we allocated $10,000 for the COVID. So is this Is
We
this
unfortunately
above?
spent that. The first buy was,
Okay.
was masks that cost us like $13,000.
Oh, okay.
Now
So that was gone.
they really got us.
Okay. So we've been spending it from the general budget
Yes.
for the other COVID supplies that was
Yeah.
necessary. Okay,
Initially, each department bought it out of what money they had in their budgetary thing. About a week and a half ago, we established the line items because it was getting ridiculous because we had to buy things like sneeze guards for all the counters. We had to buy expensive these disinfectant bombs that go off. These numbers were getting very large, and they were able to be used between all the other departments out there. So at that point in time, we just said, enough of this. Let's take care of our people. 2 line items. Don't burn their budgets for it.
mhm.
All right.
Well,
Does
that's
anyone
probably
else
best.
have any questions before I go to DPS? Tell you what they've been doing, which is the majority, not a majority, but a lot of it, and they go into the plan of reopening. Anybody else? No. Matt, are you out there?
Hello, trustees.
Yeah.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah.
I like the backdrop.
Nah.
Um,
Go ahead.
So the Department of Public Services, which makes up environmental planning and economic development, water and sewer, and building and grounds, our team has been working since day one. Some of us, most of the managers have been working 50, 60-hour weeks in preparation, in keeping everything running during the closure. We had the luck of, back in January, we started the process of beta testing our VPN, which allows us to do remote work. And that remote work beta testing has paid dividends. During the closure, the Department of Public Services management team has been able to successfully complete about 90% of the services that the Department of Public Services provides during normal times during this closure. So we have been working diligently to make sure that services have been provided as best we can, as quickly as we can. When people call from the public, we have an average 2-hour turnaround time on phone call returns. We have answered 100% of all contacts from residents and developers and businesses. We've
Wow.
continued to issue permits as the executive order allows. We have done our plan reviews, continued economic development projects in attracting new developments, which we actually had an economic development call today for a $90 million project. We continue to work very hard in the building and ground side with preparing, keeping the building clean, keeping the parks clean, keeping securing supplies, securing disinfectants, doing projects that are necessary under the essential order, including taking care of the roof at Township Hall. There were several leaks that were discovered. We're fixing the Township Hall roof. We're also, our special projects have also been continued. While we're very conscious of the budget ramifications of those projects, projects that have already been approved that are deemed essential, we've moved forward. Other projects we've put on hold until we determine and to be fiscally prudent for our residents and for the township. We've put those projects on hold. As we continue to work, our water and sewer staff has worked tirelessly to handle all emergency calls. They have done a tremendous job of following social distancing and making sure that not only our staff stays safe, but the residents that we are servicing and businesses we're servicing stay safe. The same thing holds true on the environmental side. We have continued to monitor the landfill. We've continued to monitor trash pickup along with our partners in Parks and Rec. And we're doing everything in our power to make sure that business as usual happens under the new normal. I'm very proud of our team and the work that they've put in, the tireless work they put in. But the bottom line is we are working like we're open, but remotely. In fact, we've done that 90% of work services provided mostly remotely. We're not going into the office because the number of people we have in our office, we've limited the number of people in the office, and it seems to have been successful. So,
Matt?
yes, sir.
Go through the DPS part, because I did it again today. I did it earlier today. I left out the clerk's office and the treasurer's office because they're not on my agenda usually because they're in offices. But after you do your DPS, I would like to, before you go into your open.
Yes, that's fine. I guess finally, just to finish up, we will continue to provide, as long as we're closed, and the remote services as the 90% services. The only two things that we're not able to do right now, and that make up that 10%, are our building inspections, even though we've done a few for emergency situations, and our public meetings that we host: Planning Commission, BZA, Environmental Commission, and there's one more. I always forget the last one. But we've continued to do that. So the Department of Public Services team has been responsive to not only the elected officials, to your questions, but also to our residents, and we will continue to do so. So that's the report from the public services side.
Does anybody have any questions for public services before I go to the treasurer, then the clerk's office? Treasurer.
I'd just like to thank Matt and his team for going above and beyond, and for being proactive and getting things in place so that we could serve our residents during this unexpected crisis. But a job well done, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you.
They're killing me. I asked for a report and I get it the next day, and then it's 84 pages. All right. Any other questions? No. Treasurer Bud, could you talk about the treasurer office?
Just to say that our staff has been in the office just because we don't have the capabilities of working at home. So we have made sure that we have answered all the questions, all the calls that come in, all the emails. We have posted all the revenues, made the bank deposits. We have made sure that all the payroll checks have been able to be cleared so that you can get your checks. We've made sure that all the vouchers have been taken care of so that our vendors are all taken care of. And so it's been working real good. Sean comes in maybe 2 or 3 times. He'll pop in, and we've all been there on Tuesdays, and we all wear masks. The girls have gloves, and the way it's spread out, we easily have more than 10 foot between any of us. So it's worked out good. It would be nice when we can get back to normal and see people, but for right now, it's doing it, and we're keeping up the township of the business. Thank you.
Clerk Wright, I know he's in here a lot too, his people.
Yes, well, the way we have it set up, my accountant comes in, accounting and accounts payable, they normally are there 4 days a week, half a day, to make sure that we pay all the bills, and of course to make sure you guys, along with all the other employees, get paid, which they need to live day by day. So they're in. Joanne and I come rotate and come in. Sometimes we're in together. Today we was there for a few minutes together, but our election personnel, I rotate them in to come in to upkeep the QVL. In a couple of weeks, maybe two or three weeks, we're going to have to be coming in more than often. We're going to look at it and see what can we do. We're still waiting from the state to see what's going to happen regarding the August election. That's going to be coming up real fast. I don't know what's going to happen in regards to how we're going to get people to work. That's going to be a challenge if we have to open up all 10 precincts. I know just by history that it's a challenge lately. It's going to be a challenge going forward when most of those people are the people that They're asking to stay at home. So going forward, we're waiting to see what happened with the state, how they're gonna run the August election. We'll go from there, but as of now, we're taking care of business as always.
Okay. Any questions for the clerks?
Just, I was supervisor, I was in the township today and I saw, people, Leon and Joanne were in the clerk's office, and I think I saw somebody in the treasurer's office. So they are getting things done for our residents, and that's so important. Some townships could just shut down and say, we can't do it. But I think these two are examples of leaders that go above and beyond and keep things going so that the township can continue to operate on a day-to-day basis. And I appreciate that as a board member.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now for the part we've all been waiting for, Matt Best on reopening plans.
All right.
Yeah. I now the way we did it earlier, I'd like to do it that way. I'll do it my way. Basically, Matt is, I say this all the time. It's one of my favorite sayings. My dad used to say it, godliness is in the details. It's the details of something that make things work. And that's what we really go after in these big reports. And that's why they end up being 84 pages. But I'm going to give you the really big picture. Well, the plan that we have is a management plan, which is, the management's our venue. The real plan here is, when do we open? And that is purely the board. The board is the only one that can close us, and the board is the only one that can open us. So the feeling is, the recommendation from at least my office is that since May 7th, construction is back up and running. That means we have to have permits, we have to have inspections, we have to have things like that. I'm not so certain we're ready to come back into the building because there's still a stay-at-home order. That means there's still some worry out there. So Matt's put together a plan where we basically open it as a virtual, in a virtual method starting Monday after the 7th. We stay open for a week that way, which is basically virtually. They're going to have to call in. They're going to have to come in through the web portal. If they can't, if they can't, such as somebody just can't figure out how to do that permit on that online, and we can't talk them through it, we will make an appointment and we will see them. They will come in here and follow PPE procedures and such. The 18th, which would be the Friday, is when the stay-at-home order we assume is going to end, which means the 18th it would be back up and running. We would be back in business on that day, Monday. We would run skeletally for the first week, and then the week after that we would be here in full force. And the reasons for the skeletal is because, quite frankly, we'd like to limit ourselves as much as possible from catching this disease. Another problem that you have, and I've noticed it all my life, is when people come back from vacations, they bring back something. It may not be COVID, but they bring back something. It's lightweight. This gives people some time to work, get a little sick, get better, get back in here on Monday, get back to normal. I'm going to give it to Matt because Matt is the man that developed the details, and we worked our butts off on this, and Matt's team has been awesome. Awesome team, Matt. Thank you. So take it, Matt. I'm putting mute on.
Thank you. There is data out there that shows that if one infected employee comes into the township, to the office to work, they can infect almost 90% of the employees over a 20-day period if no measures are done. And so OSHA, the state, MTA, and other organizations have put out a ton of guidelines since March to give guidance on how to reopen a facility. We've spent a lot of time, my team and I, working with Nicole Sumter, the communications department, as well as talking with other directors and the elected officials, putting together a plan that for our department, as well as a reopening plan for the how the building would open. I will say that there's no guarantee to keep everyone safe in this situation. However, we need to mitigate the risk as much as possible by following the safety guidelines and the directions of both OSHA and the federal government. OSHA actually put out a very large document that we utilized. We wrote our document, and then the OSHA document came out after and basically justified everything we had put into our plan. So we felt very comfortable at that point of where we're going. I'd like to first start off spending a little extra detail on the May 7th opening, since that is this week and affects our business community and our developers. The governor allowed for landscaping to take place begin 2 weeks ago. That industry is up and running. On May 7th, construction can start. And when construction starts in the executive order, it also states that related government operations need to begin. In that respect, that means building inspections need to begin. And the opportunity for them to get their permits and be able to get plan reviews is also something that has to happen. So on May 7th, we will start advertising our our building permit operations on our website starting Wednesday, and they will go into effect even though we've been doing them this whole time. We will open them up and advertise that we are doing them. From May 7th to May 15th, prior to the Township Hall opening, permit applications can be made by contacting the township by email, going to our website, or making a telephone call to the township. Then there's a number that's going to be provided. Payments will be able to be made for permits by mailing checks to Van Buren Township Hall or dropping them in the drop box. Plans will be reviewed online and by physical mail submittal, as they have been this whole time. Inspections will be scheduled by contacting the township by telephone or emailing the building department on a special email that our IT department has worked out specifically for this instance, building@vanburen-mi.org. In person, and I'll talk a little bit more about inspections in a second. In-person appointments may be requested or made for special circumstances, but must be done in the conformity of the Executive Order 2020-70, OSHA, and Van Buren Township guidelines. We're going to try our best to do everything remotely. And if somebody calls and says, I can't figure it out, we're going to set up a Zoom call, try to get it done that way so they can stay safe and we can stay safe. If it absolutely can't be done, we're going to set up an appointment time and walk them through the safety protocols of the temperature, wearing a mask, social distancing, and meet in the township hall to get the business of the township done. Inspections at this time will be done with our building inspectors getting a schedule from our township building department. Dan Power has worked tirelessly to get the inspection process in place so that our inspectors can get their inspection schedules, reports, and do their inspections as remotely as possible. For outside inspections, for roofs, foundations, they'll be able to do those in person. However, for interior inspections of occupied homes and residences, other communities have successfully over this time used Zoom calls, FaceTime, and other such video conferencing software on telephone, the high-end mobile phones, to do these inspections. We've adopted a process and procedure to do that, and we believe it will be successful. All these things will allow our residents, developers, and other businesses to continue to get permits during the time that we are closed. Are there any questions? Well, I'll keep going. So that's what's going to happen between now and when the township will open. On May 18th, if the governor decides not to move forward or not to extend the stay-at-home order under the supervisor's direction, we will be reopening the township hall following the Department of Public Services COVID-19 preparedness and response plan. The state of Michigan requires the township to have a COVID-19 preparedness and response plan on file for the public to view. Nicole Sumter for our Human Resources Department is developing that public document as we speak, which talks about our social distancing procedures, our entry procedures for our employees, the safety procedures for our employees, and everything else that goes with that. Each department has been asked to prepare a preparedness and response plan for internally on how they will open. Our plan talks specifically about how we are going to reopen. It also talks about what I just said, the business building department reopening. It talks about the safety procedures, team scheduling, screening, and PPE use for our water sewer department and other department heads and departments, as well as has all the documents that back up, including the OSHA federal guidelines, as well as referencing back to Nicole Sumter's document that she's preparing. In terms of reopening, on May 18th, the township door will reopen. There will be signs up at the front on our one public entrance, which is the Township Hall main entrance door, as well as the police department, public safety's main entrance door. They're making a sign, and we have made a sign that says, "Welcome back to the township. We were asked that you do your business remotely, but if you need to come inside, here are the things you need to do. Wear a mask, disinfect." There'll also be entry procedures that will be laid out per OSHA. We will have a staff person there taking temperatures and doing the screening questions to make sure that people coming in the building are that we meet the OSHA requirements for building entry. We will also ask them to wear a mask if they do not have one on. If they don't have a mask and they need to come in, and we will provide them in instances where they want to come in but they don't have a mask. Our employees will be staggered. So our office, in order to, in every document that we have, it says we need to stagger our employees to make sure that we don't infect the entire population of the as the supervisor says, when people come back, they bring sicknesses. So we're going to stagger our employees. Our public services plan developed 4 tiers of options for how we reopen. The first option was where we are right now, which is completely 100% remote operations. And then the different tiers were based on the levels of opening that we have. We'll be moving to tier 3 on May 18th, which is a staggered employees. So we'll have a representative from each department in our office, plus 1 or 2 managers from the department on site, the rest working remotely. So we will stagger our employees as best as possible while still having coverage. During that time, when people come in, we've also purchased sneeze guards for every desk, every township office desk. So the clerk's office would have 2 sneeze guards, the treasurer's office, our main desk, to protect and create a barrier. We also have masks, face shields, and gloves for our employees. We've also secured floor spacing stickers like you see at the grocery store, except ours have the township logo on them and say, "Stay the heck back from each other 6 feet," something like that. It's pretty fancy. So those things will be laid out prior to opening. We will stagger those employees for that week, and we will try to do as much business as possible remotely. And if people come in, we will service them as best we can while keeping our employees safe. As you may be aware, the seniors and Parks and Rec programs have been canceled due to the high number of people that have to be in those programs. So at that time, those areas will still be closed to the public during that first week. And I think, Supervisor, the second week is until you decide to reopen them, correct?
Yeah, first 2 weeks for sure.
Okay. And so as much as possible remote and staggering employees. During the second week, per the supervisor's direction, we'll be moving toward a full reopening. All staff will report back to the township hall. We will have the doors open, and we will go into tier 4, which is business as usual. We will still be, in the township employees, still be practicing social distancing, using our PPE and masks and face shields. We'll be, some of our directors will still work, will still have some remote work that they can do. But for the most part, all employees will report back that second week of us being open. Our water and sewer operations are a little more tricky, and our inspection operations are a little more tricky because they go into occupied homes and occupied businesses. So we will still be doing the virtual inspections at that, and for those places, as well as our water and sewer will be continuing to do their limited inspections, but still providing services as best they can in those situations. One of the other things that I will add is, and this is something that wasn't in the meeting, but I talked to the supervisor after our meeting earlier today when we talked about this and squared it up. Each department, in order, as we reopen, because we're going to be, especially in that first and second week, we're going to be limiting employees to stay in their areas. So the clerk's office employees will stay in the clerk's office area, the treasurer's employees, the public safety, so that if there is, heaven forbid, someone who comes in with COVID-19, we limit the exposure to the entire staff. One thing we don't want to have happen is COVID-19 to spread around our office to the point where we cannot be providing services to our residents. So for those, at least for those first 2 weeks, we'll be limiting people. We'll also limit each department should be limiting who goes to the mailroom, and proper PPE should be worn in the mailroom at all times. That's one of the only places that congregating of employees could be. Because of the technology that we have invested in over the last 4 years and the upgrades that we have done to our communications department, we can communicate effectively with each other within the building while we're open, utilizing phone, email, and Zoom. So for those first 2 weeks, we might be a little isolated from each other, but the dividends will pay off by minimizing our risk as best as possible. And with that, Supervisor, that is the current plan as far as I know.
Thank you. Just to let you know, we're happy to take input on the management plan, but the management plan has been based upon OSHA, the governor, the CDC. It's a management plan. We're informing you pretty much, but there's just so many laws in OSHA that we really aren't looking for changes or approval on it, because we've got to do what we've got to do. We also understand that plans as intricate as this rarely stand unchanged once they happen. We hope that they do, but they never do. So we'll have to play it by ear on that. We will, I'll let you guys ask questions now, but ultimately at the end of this, we're going to ask you if you're okay with the dates for reopening. Trustee Miller.
I have one question on that preparedness plan, Director Best. Will someone at the township be taking employee temperatures?
Yes. Under the township-wide plan, that COVID preparedness and response plan that Nicole Sumter has put together, there is a temperature taking regime for both residents that come in, so visitors that come in, as well as employees. Director Sumter is putting the final touches on that based on OSHA guidelines, as well as other communities' examples. And we have 2 thermometers right now with a few more on the way. And we will be, one will be stationed at the main entrance during business hours. And before employees come in, they have to individually be scanned, be asked the questions under the screening process, and then they are allowed to enter the building. Then that thermometer goes to the main door, and there should also be one at the public safety entrance.
And my follow-up question is also, are we testing employees, staff, actually sending them to a testing facility, excluding fire and police, our own staff?
So
And
public safety is required to do the testing from my understanding, and Jason,
right.
Greg can go into that. In terms of testing employees before they come back, I have not seen that in any requirement in any plan that we have. Testing is a snapshot in time. So you go and get tested, you go to the grocery store, and then you're infected at the grocery store. The testing, that's why the testing wasn't mandatory in the OSHA guidelines. That's why we're doing screening process that's recommended by OSHA.
I have trustee Martin.
Director Best.
Yes, sir.
So who is going to do the testing, and what is the extent of their training to do the said testing?
The temperature testing.
Right, and who's going to administer the temperature test, the questionnaire, and whatever else is involved in that?
Training wise, we have not trained them. We're just going based on the CDC's, what the CDC says that we should look at. Amy Brow has this training certificates that we need for the things that we do need training for certification, things like fit testing and there's a couple other that Amy Brow's going to oversee, but we have been told that those people have to be trained. If they have a fever, we're supposed to kick them out.
I guess my question is, who is going to be taking the temperatures and who is going to be assigned to that task?
So Nicole Sumter and the COVID-19 preparedness and response plan for the township is still being completed, and that is still being decided. One of the managers, most likely, or directors, will be doing the employee testing or the employee temperature taking. And I'm not sure who has been designated yet to do the visitor temperature taking. So I'm not sure where that's going to fall yet.
If you're asking if we have the personnel, I don't plan on hiring any additional personnel. We do have a hiring freeze on. I have met with seniors and Parks and Rec, and they do know that their personnel will probably be helping out in the lobby area. And we'll probably have other people. I can't have them working the front door all the time. We'll switch it up, but we do have personnel that should be underutilized in seniors and Parks and Rec during the next week or two. Any other
Supervisor, question?
Trustee Miller.
So we have to be vigilant with testing. That's our only way to beat this. And that being said, I myself today went and got tested at Van Buren Urgent Care. It's a very easy process. Drive in, drive out, you're on your way. And I'm sure other elected officials have done the same. So I encourage people to get tested. I don't think there was no money out of pocket. It was billed to my insurance, but I just want to reiterate how important it is that our staff take advantage of that testing facility, since it's so easily accessible right here in town.
Okay, Clerk Wright.
I like to echo Trustee Miller statement. As you know, a few weeks ago, when we had a conference call, I notated to our directors that was available. I gave them a call, and they informed me that they were doing no reason testing. You don't have to have any symptoms, just come in, and it is billed to your insurance, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield. Will cover it. So I would recommend the same. I have all my staff. They all signed up and being tested. I have been tested already. Joanne have. I know the treasurer have. And I just think it's a good thing. I know we heard today that all the public safety personnel has been tested, except for Amy right now. I think it's a good thing that not only do we have to worry about protecting our employees, but we also have to protect our constituents that come to the resident that comes into the office. We have all ages that comes in, and want to walk in and make sure they pay certain bills in person. It's our responsibility. Once we open, we know they're going to come, even though they may not need to come. But once we open, they're going to come. So it's our responsibility not only to take care of our employees, but it's also our responsibility to take care of our residents. And I think it's just a safety net to know that we can tell them all our employees have been tested, even though that don't mean that it can't acquire it at some time going forward. But I'm hoping that if we show that they're tested, the numbers for our area, maybe that will give us some incentive to get some of the antibody testing. We all know that Wayne County is a hot spot already, so I think Wayne County is going to be one of the counties that they focus on in regards to the antibody testing going forward. That's just my thoughts.
Okay,
Just to add one, through the chair, just to add one small piece to that. We are designated as a medium exposure facility because we are in Wayne County and the type of interaction we have with the public. And so our PPE, our social distancing, and our staggered workforce and promoting remote work to the fullest extent possible is the Department of Public Services goal here. So that's how we're mitigating the risk. The medium exposure facility designation gives us additional rules under the OSHA guidelines to follow. So that's what we've done. So in the plan.
Okay, are there any other questions? So I don't need a vote so much as I just need your blessing that we would be opening, following this plan on the opening dates. The dates would be the Monday after the 7th for the virtual opening. And then the 18th would be the phase 3 opening, which is the skeletal workforce. And then a week from then would be the full-blown opening. Are you okay with those dates?
Yep.
Okay. Again, should the governor?
Kevin had a question.
Mr. Martin?
I'm sorry, I think you're gonna just say what I was alluding to.
Why did you
That's
say it?
contingent on the governor's,
Yeah.
what the governor does.
I agree. Okay.
That's what you were gonna say, right?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
But thank you. It wasn't something, sometimes you forget. Okay, thank you very much. I guess we can move on then, right? Okay, I got nothing.
Thank you, board, and stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well,
You too, Matt.
The next item is a discussion on the township website. I wanted to do a prologue for this thing while Dan gets online. But it's pretty darn easy. I'm going to let him do the prologue because we just learned what we're good at and what we're weak at, and they're going to talk about something that we got a mess. Go ahead, Dan.
Good evening. Getting used to this myself. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, board. This is an update of the township website. It's just a discussion item that typically would have been brought to a work study, but for a first virtual meeting, we wanted to keep it light and just has a discussion piece for the time to consider for when we do bring it back for an official action. The township website is our virtual front door to the public for online services and information. The public uses it it's a first line for where you would get official information that is very important for our closure at this time. It is 6 years old, which doesn't seem very old, but in tech terms, 6 years is a significant amount of time. It has served us well, and it has really been very useful. But for integrating our social media and getting information to the public and for updating ADA compliance, which is a recent law that was passed, I believe in 2016, that required all municipalities to be ADA compliant, which we are mostly, but it makes fiscal sense to just go for a full scale update. The new website we would want for a more user-friendly internal management. And I am going to turn it over to Steve right now, who can get a little bit more into history and technical details. And then Alicia and Ryan can make any we want to make that would be involved with an update. I do want to also mention that this was a non-budgeted item, so this is why we want to give you time to consider it for when we do bring it back for official action. So right now I'll turn it over to Steve, who can get into some technical aspects and any history that's involved with the township website.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Basically, like Dan said, we're a little over 6 years old since the current website was introduced in the spring of 2014. Most websites should be upgraded or refreshed between 4 and 5 years. So we're definitely due, and especially with the enhanced use of social media. I think it's the smart thing to do at this point. We utilized at that time the same web design team that did the DDA's website a year previously. And we thought it would be a good idea to have some symmetry between the two websites since they were both township entities. And also a big selling on that was the DDA actually funded our township website upgrade back then. So that was very, very much appreciated. But as we were having some discussions earlier, I mentioned to Dan that a website, if it goes for too long, 4, 5, 6 years, it begins to resemble a little bit of a house that has 4 or 5 additions on it, and it loses its original design and flow. And I think we're getting there. And I just think with the technology and like I said, the social media use, that it's definitely time to upgrade the site. 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old is really old for anything technology, especially with things changing the way they are and with the great things that communications teams are doing for the township now. So I definitely agree with this.
Sorry. Trustee Miller, let me just real quickly, because it wasn't stated. 4 years ago, we tried to do an app and it worked out pretty well. It was a pretty neat little app. Problem is it had some bad parts that people couldn't pay and things like that. And the reason for that was quite frankly, because our BSA software was behind the times to merge into an app system. Now BSA actually has fixed all their little problems and now we're able to do those things, but now we're discovering the website. So every time we turn around, it seems to be something else that's stopping us. All these things now are in line to be able to be updated, and we're the ones that are behind on it. And if we're going to go to a remote world, an app world, which is where the world seems to be going, we can't be walking around with 6, 7-year-old technology. So Trustee Miller, you had your hands up.
So when you say it's not ADA accessible, what does that mean?
I can let Steve touch on it a little bit more, but we're, I think, at 65% ADA compliance, but there's always inundated stuff for ADA accessibility that Steve, because has been doing the work on this, can probably answer that a little better than I can.
Yeah, just for one example, Reggie, for folks that are legally blind, that have the tools to look at websites, images should have like definitions, and I believe it's like an audio file that will play and let them know what the image is that they're hovering over, things like that. And I didn't do a deep dive into what an ADA person looks for, but I do know that such people as legally blind, they can look at websites, and whether it's commercial or government, and get through it as long as it's ADA compliant. And that's where the government's gone, and that's where the business world has gone. So it's something we need to address, and kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Update that website and get that done at the same time instead of paying for each separately.
From a legal standpoint and a governmental standpoint, ADA compliance on your website is as important as putting ADA compliance on your sidewalk. If you don't do it, the government will get mad, they will fine you, and you will be sued, and lawsuits are done.
Right.
Absolutely. And will we still be able, will our residents still have the availability to go onto a website versus an app?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So how long will it take to get it up to par? to revamp it?
Once we come back for approval, which would be probably a RFP or QBS, whichever route we decide to go through, to just have a preferred vendor. We've already been benchmarking other websites and had a lot of this process we've already done some background with it. What time it would be actually operable would really, I think Alicia has done some background on this, talking to some of our colleagues in neighboring communities. So she might be able to answer when it might be actually operable. Alicia?
Yeah, hello board. It really all depends on the company we would choose to go through and kind of help design with us. Some companies have told me 90 days, they can get it done. Others have said 3 to 6 months. That also depends on how much information are we just copying over to the new website, or are we just redeveloping it and adding that information as we go? So it really all just depends on the company that we would choose.
And what is the cost for this? And will they have the ability to enlarge a font or turn up volumes if they're hearing impaired?
Yeah, we didn't want to get into too many detailed specifics at this time, just because I know a big thing right now is the reopening plan, but I do have a PowerPoint we can share with you. It's really going to cost anywhere from pretty much 20 to 40 grand, depending on the company. And I have talked with the company we are using right now, and they have told me, even if we a la carte fix our website right now, it would still cost so much money that, like Steve was saying, it's better just to do a whole revamp and make sure it's ADA.
Thank you for those details.
Yeah, Trustee Frazier.
Yes, I mean, I think in this day and age, this website is so important. We cannot minimize the importance of our website, because most people and businesses that are thinking about moving are looking at websites. And if you really have a I don't want to say slick website, but a really comprehensive website, you know, they think that that's going to help them make a determination on whether they want to move their business here. I think it has to be user-friendly, comprehensive, but it also has to have, the one thing that disturbs me about a lot of websites that I go to is the information is not updated on a regular basis. They've still got stuff from 3 weeks ago up there. Now, that is one pet peeve I have. If we are changing something, it better, when we discuss it and pass a motion, it better be up there the next day. Because a lot of people who can't attend meetings go to the website to get their information. Mm-hmm. And I think we should talk to our leaders in the community, like you know, the DDA, the Mike Cole, the you know, different business organizations and things like that, because we need to work with them to get their perspective. I know from working at the library, when the website first came out, it was not liked by our patrons. They wanted the agenda, and you had to go under government, and then you had to go to meetings and agenda. That was a waste of their, you know, that was like 3 steps they had to take before they got tonight's agenda. I think it should be quick and easy to use, and that the resident is the main focus in getting the information out there on what the township's doing. But it has to be updated on a regular basis.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this? The idea is that we'd like to put out an RFP for those kinds of things. We have no idea what it's going to cost. We have just estimates. Then we'll come back with the RFP and possibly a presentation. And that's where we're at right now with that. I'd
like to have like you decide on who are the top contenders. If there's 2 or 3 vendors that look good, bring them in and show them to us and let us get a feel for, you know, what they're offering. To me, the price is important, but we get what we pay for. You know, my dad always used to say, okay, Sherry, buy those cheap shoes. I don't care. But if you get those leather ones, they're going to last you a lot longer and you won't have to replace them as much. So I say we get our money's worth and get a good, competent, you know, vendor that can produce a website that is informative for our residents.
Clerk Wright.
Yeah, I also agree. I agree with Trustee Frazier. If we're gonna do it, make sure we do it right.
Mhm.
Alicia, you know, there's a couple of websites out there that has like the premier website. We probably could go ask them who did theirs and maybe get some quotes from that vendor. But this is something, you know, I've been asking for a while. Steve, no offense, but you know that I've been mimicking this. First thing we get when elections time come around is that I can't get to this, I can't see this, it's frozen, I can't print this, I can't get this off. Where is this located? As like Trustee Frazier said, it needs to be innovative and that to be user friendly, and it can't be in the lingo that only we know what it means. It needs to be something that's ordinary. When you go on the Facebook page, I mean, when you go on the page, you need to, it's ordinary. It's like going on any vendor's page. You know, we know what go to government, go to this and go to that, but most residents don't know that. So it needs to be something that's very user friendly. We just got a call the other day, and we got a FOIA that the guy was irate because he couldn't get something to operate, but it was operational. He just didn't know how to do it. He didn't know where to find it. So I think it's a good thing. It's well overdue. It's time to redo it. And it's good that we're looking at it. I forgot to mention when I were talking about the clerk's office, we've had a lot of barriers, unprecedented amount. I don't know what they're related to. They don't tell us. They're not going to tell us, but we are busy with barriers. So that's up. I think I know we have one today. We got one tomorrow, one late in the week. We've had an unprecedented amount of barriers since we've been out. So don't know the reason for it, but we have. So
I will just say one thing. Since the stay home order and the COVID pandemic, we really have pushed our website to the max, and we have been able to use what we have, but like you said, we can definitely make it more modern as well. So, and through all of this, we've heard a lot of feedback too from what the residents want our website to look like. So I have compiled those.
And we've quite frankly gotten quite a few little comments while we were here. Ashley, I saw one, and about some ideas of what we could do.
one more thing, Kevin. Before we get off of here, I would like to compliment the Alicia, you and Ryan. You guys are doing an outstanding job with the communications department. Not only starting off, but especially through this event, this COVID event. You guys are right on everything that we asked you to do. You're right on anything that I asked you to share. And also, if the police department is out there, we want to thank them, every one of them, all of them, for what they're doing. Jason and Greg, you guys doing an outstanding job. Like the supervisor said, we only had one incident, and I know that's unprecedented for the size department that we have. The procedure that you put in place was probably something we need to look at. Or whatever you guys did over there during this COVID outbreak, you did it right. So I'd like to congratulate you too, and just thank you guys for the work that you're doing.
Before I go to Sherry, I just want to add that Dan Sum was part of the committee. He runs the communications group, so he deserves a lot of it too. He's such a
yes, Dan, I'm sorry.
He knows what he does.
Job well done.
No, I appreciate it. And you're spot on for Alicia and Ryan started in late last fall. They really hit the ground running the moment they got here. So I appreciate all that.
There are two people that made the one person I really wanted. I know the one person who doesn't exist. Trustee Frazier, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say that we need to get resident input on it, you know, what they want to see. What kind of information do they want? Do they want a list of our cemeteries and, you know, do they want a list of, you know, whatever, the recreational programs, what do they want to see? And I think it would be well worth our time to put out some kind of, you know, survey to get some kind of, I'm sure you've got feedback already, but to get as much feedback as we can from the residents and what they want to see. But I also thank all of you on the communication team for doing an excellent job. And I have every confidence that you will get us a premier site because we're a premier community.
Thank you. That is correct.
All right. So I forgot to take a picture of this.
Whoa.
Historic. All right. So I have an agreement now that we can put on an RFP. We'll narrow it down. And then I guess we'll bring them before you. Okay. I'm not sure that we're going to bring back a winner or we're going to bring back 2 people or 3 people and let you guys decide. The problem I have is that the group that's probably going to decide are the group that's really going to be using it, which are the millennials.
Mhm. Yeah. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I'd love to put you guys right in there on the purchasing front lines, but I'm probably the worst one to have in that group. That's all I have. I have no reports to give. Except for the fact that everybody is working hard. It surprised me is how much they're working hard. And I sometimes come into work and wish they would stop working so hard because there's.
Makes you feel bad.
Yeah, I really have it pretty good. I have wonderful people that work for me and I get so much done because I hand it off to them once I touch it. There's nobody to hand it to anymore. So they're at home, these type A workaholics like, you know, Greg and Jason and Dave and they're all working hard. And they're creating programs in Lynette and then all of a sudden they all end up on my desk. And then I'm basically grabbing the clerk and grabbing the treasurer and dragging them in here. And you know, they're breaking, you know, doing what they kind of keep things running. So it's been an interesting 6 weeks and kind of glad it's going to end though, because I really couldn't.
Then it won't end.
No.
Yeah, I know.
The sooner the better this stuff gets through here.
Okay, I guess I am down now to public comment. Is there first, I guess I should ask the public first.
Great.
Alicia, you take
Yes. Yes, we do. We actually have Mike Cole who has his virtual hand raised. So Mike, I'm going to unmute you right
Hey.
now. Mike, are you there?
I am here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Well, congratulations for making it into the 21st century, folks. No, I'm just I'm
Yeah.
happy. I'm doing that sarcastically. Thanks for putting this on Zoom. It's definitely it works. Once you guys get used to it, you're gonna love it. I've been doing it for years. So
Mhm.
first of all, I'm commenting here as my capacity is 3 different things: a resident, a small business owner, and of course the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, which we currently represent 200 to 300 small businesses, plus pretty much any other business in the community that is or is not a member right now. And a vast majority of them are closed due to the governor's orders. So the Small Business Association just completed a survey. It was released today. It's going to be, part of it is going to be in the Cranes business this week. But they found out of the 1,300, they represent about 22,000 members. They found out that out of 1,300 survey responses, 1 out of every 7 will be out of business if the governor continues this extension beyond May 15th. It's that serious. We're talking about people that have been out of business now since March 13th, March 14th, March 15th,
Oh.
when we closed restaurants. So we're talking 1 out of 7 businesses in the state of Michigan potentially 3,000 businesses will close in the state if we don't do something. Now, having said that, I mean, that is a fact. No matter what, there's not a whole lot that this group can do about that statewide thing. But one of the things that we've noticed is many states around the country, the governors are working with mayors and supervisors, giving them the autonomy to reopen their cities and their townships or villages. And we're concerned out here, my community, our membership is concerned because in the 48111 area, we're in Western Wayne County, but we're still lumped in to the Wayne County data. You know, and I think Kevin, Supervisor, you noticed, you said originally that only 138 members or 138 cases to date in the last 2 months. So obviously we're not even close to the percentages of Wayne County. So I'm hoping that we're not being lumped into that Wayne County data, even though she's had a regional, she noted the MERC has identified the 8 different regions of the state. So my question is this for you guys. I have a 2-part question. What latitude or freedom has the governor given to the localities such as you and Belleville and Sumter in making your own decisions? And if none, do you know why? And the second part of the question is, if the governor has given this township any freedoms at all, what are they willing to share to the community right now? Because we are operating blind. Most states around the country have provided a very, very specific criteria. If this, and this happens on May 15th, May 22nd, May 29th, this is what's going to open. And that is the number one thing that we have right now is uncertainty. And that is an opportunity for leadership. And that's what we're missing from, as small business owners, we're missing the leadership from the state and the federal and locals on determining and clearing up that uncertainty. So who wants to, if you can answer that question, those questions.
The governor's given quasi, and I'm saying quasi because it's almost voice only, for the supervisors and mayors to determine what essential personnel and essential businesses are. And yes, we do lean toward making people essential when they need to be essential. I'm sure that it could be questioned and shut down in a second for some of the decisions that we make on this. But I have to tell you this, and this is big. If you look at the numbers in the state of Michigan, I'm one of those that believes that we should be open in a lot of things, but I bet that I'm not the majority on this board. And I know I'm not the majority in the state of Michigan. The number's close to 57, 58% approval on how she's handling it. I think it's really harsh, but on the other side of it is people believe in what she's doing, and I'm not going to go against the governor on something when the majority of the people are, especially, are agreeing with her.
You're missing I am not judging. I'm not making any claim or any comments about decisions that she's made. I would never, if you guys read my blog that I wrote on March 14th, okay. I would never, you guys make decisions based on data you have today. But we're making, what we do not have any clear path to when we're going to open. I've got to tell 20 restaurants that we have no idea whether they can open at 10%, 50%, or 75% in the next 2 weeks or 2 months. That is.
Supervisor.
Clerk Wright.
If I'm hearing you right, Mike, I think you're asking us, have we been given any latitude in regards to opening?
Yes.
No, we haven't.
So why? And that's my question. Why would the state of Michigan operate differently than the other 49 states? Because they are going to their mayors and their
well, they're giving. I think they're giving the governor.
The governors are going to their mayors and their township supervisors all over the country and giving them a little bit of say in the matter. What do you want to open if you hit these cases? That's all I'm saying. It's clear in Georgia, Texas, Ohio, Indiana, California.
That may be, but unless you heard something, Kevin, I haven't heard from the governor.
Yeah, okay. I'm not complaining about what has been done. I'm just complaining about what is not. There's no picture of the future.
All right.
None.
I'm not aware of any communication regarding the township from the governor's office. So
just want to be on the record that you've got potentially 50 to 75 businesses will probably not reopen if we could extend this too much longer. So,
Trustee Frazier.
I think what Mike is saying is that he would like for the township to be proactive on our local businesses reopening, that if we can apply any pressure at the state level with the governor and tell her that our local people are going to lose their businesses, a good percentage of them, we need to be allowed to make the decision for our local people to open their businesses again.
Yeah.
Is that what you want, Mike?
No,
And for
I mean,
us to do our
I don't
part?
think, like Kevin said, I don't think anybody on that board is going to want to take the responsibility of saying you have 100% latitude. But I think I think the townships and the cities should be around that table along with the MERC.
That's what I mean, that
yeah.
we should have.
You should have a
some-
voice. You should have a
Yeah.
voice. Because Western Wayne County, when you look at the data, the Western Wayne County, our data, Kevin, 138 cases in 2 months, that's nothing compared to the city of Detroit that has thousands and thousands of deaths compared to the 10 deaths that we have. 10 deaths is a lot of deaths. We're not going to, this is not going to stop deaths from happening. All we're doing is we're just prolonging this curve. The same amount of people are going to die from this, whether we open up or close for the next 6 months. But it's just going to be taking a little bit longer for it to happen.
Trustee Miller?
Well, with that being said, the township and the businesses have to make residents feel comfortable when they're ready to go back into these businesses. That's key. They can't be afraid. They can't be afraid to enter our township. They can't be afraid to enter businesses, and that's a critical piece.
Agreed.
We need to work together on that.
Agreed. And they have no problem. And the MERC is coming out, what is it, the something Economic Recovery Council or whatever, with that group that's working with the governor right now. They're coming up with some standards. But again, they need to let our business owners know weeks ahead of time of what they're going to need. Right now, we don't know what the rules are going to be. We have no idea. We don't know whether if we are going to open at 25% or 50% in our restaurants, whether we're going to have to put plastic shields up there's no standards written yet. They're going to, and last week is a perfect example of the not well communicated strategy. Friday afternoon, we have a press conference and find out landscapers can go to work that day. Okay. That's great. But they had restrictions that they didn't know about. And those didn't come out till Monday. So those are the types of things that we need. Okay. If they're going to have to put all of these things in place, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that we're in a situation where we're killing our country to save a few lives. And I'm saying it as black and white as that. We're killing the country to save a few lives. You're going to kill more people that are going to go on unemployment than will ever die from this COVID disease. That's a pure opinion. There's no fact behind that, but we need to be transparent. We need to be telling these businesses what they need to do. And that's the lack of what's coming down right now. And they need to maybe do some construction. They need maybe put partitions up.
Here's where I can help you. You can tell me a way that it's essential. I can start that up, but of course you're going to be able to start up in 2 more days anyway. So
yeah, I can start. I can make a case that any one of our businesses are essential. So
I can't do it for restaurants. It's just not a chance.
I know, but anyway, I'm just saying it's restaurants or whether it's hair salons or anything like that. I don't want it to open if it's not safe. Make sure that you understand that. That's very, very clear. Reggie, you've been in my meetings over the last month or so. I'm not an advocate of opening up just for the heck of it. But we have to have enough data by now for somebody to say by the 14th or the 21st or the 5th of June, we should be here, here, and here. We have data. It's coming.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway,
we need better communication on all levels.
Guys, I'm not complaining about what you have or haven't done. It's not completely out of your hands, but I was hoping that that the governor was asking the localities that she wouldn't make a decision, or sorry, it's not her decision. The government won't make a decision based on Wayne County data and lump us into Wayne County data when we're just a small community that has very, very, very few people impacted. So anyway, that was my 2 minutes. I think I was only allowed 3 minutes according to the rules. I read them. So.
Thank you.
I actually have a phone call with Joanna Hall in 2 days. She's the chief of staff for Governor Whitmer. It's about something else, but I'll bring that up.
Yeah, and again, it's just I'm concerned because 48111 is, we could open up and we're a very, very tight knit, small community that doesn't go out, we don't attract a lot of people from outside into our community. And it would be a little bit safer for us to open up than someplace in Corktown. And not tomorrow, but maybe the 15th or the 22nd. But anyway, I've said my piece, and I think I've made some of my members happy. So
Thank you, Mike. Did you state your address for the record?
no, I didn't.
Can
But
you
for the
please-
record, it's 13095 Linda Vista.
Great, thank you. We also just have a few public comments. One is in the chat that I'll read about ADA. This is from Ashley. I'm gonna butcher her name. So Ashley S., our tri-community member from the Belleville Area Mutual Aid. For the ADA and more exclusive language website development, instead of traditional website development companies, can RFPs be developed to allow DEI consultants that specialize in this as well? So I just wanted to read that out loud. And then we also have Mike wrote something for ADA, has many things. One, like Steve mentioned, the voiceover when you hover over a picture. Also, if you have a video playing, there needs to be transcription or subtitles. There is things also like font size and other nuisances, but it's pretty standard for any new website. So
Am I still on mute?
oh, no, now.
Okay, that wasn't nuisances, that's nuances.
Oh, nuances. That's
Please.
sorry. I guess I just cannot read.
So now I know why people talk so well about me behind my back.
Great. I see no other public comments on here. Once again, if you are an attendee and you do want to make a public comment, you can raise your virtual hand.
Okay, we are now at the board's comment time. Does anybody at the board want to make comments? Trustee Miller.
The United Way for Southeastern Michigan served over 1,600 people this past month, less than a month. And I want to thank Lynette Jordan and the staff at Van Buren Township for making all of that happen. And I have letters here that are coming in thanking the board. So thank you.
Oh, great. It was nice. We had the Easter Bunny go out with them. I don't know if you've read about that, but it was pretty cool. Trustee Frazier.
Well, I'd just like to thank Trustee Miller for securing that grant for us. That's very helpful. And also, I'd like to thank all the public safety workers and essential workers who are out there keeping our country moving forward, but especially our public safety, keeping the township safe and secure during these trying times. It just makes you feel a lot better knowing that you've got outstanding people that are working for the township that are there, and they're going to do their jobs no matter what we face.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll hear for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Frazier, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much for our first Zoom meeting. Bye, everybody.